how hard I want to work on and off the court.
Heute geht es um Muskeln. Jeder Mensch hat ungefähr die gleiche Anzahl von Muskeln. Jeder Mensch hat ungefähr die gleiche Anzahl an Muskelgruppen. Aber sie können in ihrer Größe variieren. Verstanden? Nach seinem Rookie-Jahr stählte Malone nicht nur seinen Körper, sein
The ball goes one way, the ball goes back, and now the bench is empty, and everybody tries to get involved in this thing.
Over to Ballard behind him, stolen by Malone. Game is over. 2-1. Utah wins. And now Ballard and Malone get into it. Malone and Ballard get into it, and everybody runs across the court. We have a little bit of a fisticuff situation here as Ballard threw the ball to Malone as the game was already over. Malone threw his elbow back at Ballard as he walked off the court, and now we have an ugly scene. And the fans are up on the court, the police come out, and the frustration of it. Okay, now they're tied up right there. The game is over. Malone pushes off at Ballard, throws the ball at Ballard. Ballard catches it and throws it back at Malone, and then we got into it. Now, Greg Ballard.
Jordan, nice pass to Darrell Walker. Stripped away by Karl Malone. He did not like that call. Here comes the technical foul.
Yeah, he's got to be careful now, you see. He felt that he was pushed as he dove for the ball to try to make the save.
May I remind you, we're not above fighting dirty.
It's Corbin. And a foul is called. Mason hit the deck.
Karl Malone giving Doc Rivers a warning, and they're jawing at each other. I think Malone got hit from behind by Rivers. Now Karl Malone is giving the official a lecture.
And let's see what the call is here. Here's Jim Clark calling a technical on Malone.
Doc Rivers and Karl Malone, double technical
And apparently Doc Rivers also hit with a technical foul.
There is no technical
foul.
foul.
Hard to tell whether it was because of the play or the response by the players.
I am the one who called him over. Therefore, there is no technical foul. There's a loose ball foul on Mason.
And now Darrell Garretson just came over and has overruled that there are no technical fouls. What went on? But now here is another look.
On the rebound, Karl Malone reaching out with his left foot for Doc Rivers. He was unhappy about a prior incident they had, which was not seen very clearly. And the technical foul call, the double technical, was overruled by Darrell Garretson in favor of a personal foul on Mason. The latter part of the first half, there was an incident under the basket there involving Karl Malone. Doc Rivers reaching over from behind Malone with a little kick in the direction of Rivers, which certainly incited his response. Both players going at each other. Technicals calls, and then they were taken away by Darrell Garretson. A couple of plays later, Karl Malone getting a little facial massage from Doc Rivers.
Delaney Rudd being quick, he is showing the quickness. Remember, D. Brown, one of the quickest young guards in the league.
Well, I think that's why Jerry Sloan made the move to get Stockton out of there right now.
Malone and McHale mixing it up already in this game. Malone really pounding McHale on that entry pass after McHale hit 4 in a row. Karl's starting to get tough with it.
It is that time of the year, I tell you. A jump shot. Now the foul was called before the shot right there, and you see what happens there. No punches thrown, but just both guys letting them know that I want this game as badly as you do.
Dick Pavetta's got his hands full there as he pushes Karl Malone away.
Coinvolge lui e Malone, uomo in difesa e per terra, fatte 3 volte consecutive.
E se va a terra Duncan, qualcosa deve essere successo. Malone prende gran cosa ha fatto il difensore intanto in precedenza. Ecco il contatto e si è alzato il gomito veramente come
the suns were not as bright in Salt Lake City, with Karl the mailman Malone looking a first-class package.
Drexler back. Corbin misses the layup. Brown blocked by Williams. And a jump ball. And that's been another story. The Blazers' ability to block close-in shots all night. They've had 8 or 9.
An aggressive, swarming defense just coming through for the Portland Trail Blazers. Mike Brown had a layup out of nowhere. I think it was either Cliff Robinson or Curry coming to block it. Here it is here.
Well, you see them tie up right at the end. Mike Brown comes in and they rip the ball away. They'll get a jump.
And Malone inside for an easy 2. And then he gives a little bump to Bradley right on the floor.
That's not a pass by Nowitzki. Karl Malone finishes, and then when he turns around to run back up the court, Sean Bradley runs right into him.
This one. Bradley goes down hard as he tried to deny Marshall. Malone strong, and Bradley with a hard foul, and Malone gets hit in the face, a flagrant foul.
There's no place whatsoever. Jerry Sloan up off the bench.
Let's see if they call it a flagrant 1 or flagrant 2.
They've already called it a flagrant.
A flagrant 2, and he would be ejected. Danny Crawford going over. Malone shaken up, and it takes a lot to knock him down. So Bradley with 3 personals, and apparently it's a flagrant 1. It is loud here at Reunion Arena. The physical play continues. The Jazz by 2. There have been a lot of hard fouls in the first 2 games of this series, but perhaps none harder than Sean Bradley's foul on Karl Malone right here.
Inexcusable play by Sean Bradley. Karl Malone loves to finish and drive left. Sean Bradley just comes and makes no attempt whatsoever on the ball. He just comes in and hits the guy in the face. Don Nelson does the world of basketball a favor by taking Sean Bradley out of the game.
And Bill, he's lucky. That could easily have been a flagrant 2, which is an automatic ejection. So Malone will shoot 2 free throws, and the Jazz will take it out of bounds.
But Sean Bradley has been playing pretty decent basketball for the Dallas Mavericks of late. And with a team that has gotten nothing out of its bench. In fact, Don Nelson telling us that he doesn't even have a bench at this point. He's costing his team, Sean Bradley, a chance to win a playoff game. There's won a playoff game.
There's a way to Sean Bradley with this flagrant foul against Karl Malone a little bit earlier. There's been accusations of flopping in this series in addition to all the hard fouls, and that's something that was discussed with the officiating crew after this latest flagrant.
We had him flop a couple times with that serious stuff there. And you know what? Be aware of retaliation. And let's work hard, man, okay?
That's Danny Crawford doing the talking in his 17th year, one of the premier officials and the crew chief of this one.
You get so focused in on helping your team look back on his career and say, why did it take me so long to get to the Utah Jazz?
A technical foul has been called on Juwan Howard after the personal foul. Howard kind of held on to Malone's jersey. Malone talking to Howard now.
Well, there's
Stockton trying to keep Malone away from the officials, or from Howard, more importantly.
There's been so much animosity that has been built up. It's carried over from the ownership and management levels to Nelson and Jerry Sloan. And now with the play clearly over, and Juwan Howard just continues. Inexcusable for a player of
In Dallas. Heute könnte es für Sean Bradley und die Mavericks in Salt Lake City etwas auf die Nase geben. Gleich in Inside NBA. Utah Jazz gegen Dallas Mavericks. Bradley im Duell mit Ostertag. Ja, den Wurf geht er nicht mehr los. 48:55 zur Halbzeit zwischen den Utah Jazz und den Dallas Mavericks. Also zumindest, ja, das ist das Matchup, was sie natürlich jetzt suchen. Karl Malone gegen Sean Bradley. Sofort das Foul von Bradley. Für ihn ja so eine Art Rückkehr nach Hause. Sean Bradley hat ja lange Zeit hier bei Brigham Young gespielt, eine Universität, die ja auch im US-Bundesstaat Utah liegt. Ja, das sind so die kleinen Niggligkeiten. Fehlwurf von Malone. Und da erwischt er Bradley im Auge. Sofort kommt die Antwort von Bradley. Und jetzt denken wir daran zurück, was passiert ist bei der letzten Auswärtsvorstellung der Mavericks hier in Salt Lake City. Da gab es ja reichlich Ärger zwischen Bradley und Malone, zwischen Nelson und Malone. Beide mussten ja einige Dollar an Strafe bezahlen. Hier haben wir das Foul von Malone.
Utah Jazz, their largest lead, and Karl Malone with 27 points. This is Pau Gasol trying to make a quick move. He stripped to the basketball. And a foul as Gasol and Malone shoves Gasol away a little bit. And that's a foul on Pau Gasol. And now Hubie Brown is looking over at Rodney Mott and Sean Corbin.
And Hubie Brown, he wants one call tonight on Utah stripping the basketball. Believe me, they have not been that successful all night when they haven't touched the Grizzlies not one time.
There's Malone, 29 points. 12-point advantage for Utah, and Hubie Brown wants a timeout right now, just possibly not there. Malone fading away, shot doesn't go. Earl Watson, opportunity to run. Earl Watson ahead to Pau Gasol, and he gets hammered. And a flagrant foul is going to be called on Karl Malone, and now Pau Gasol and Malone, and Pau goes back toward Malone, and Lorenzen Wright is standing in there. And this is something that we saw on Monday night, and I don't think Pau Gasol has done anything wrong in turning and having a few words with Karl Malone. Remember when Murphy took him down hard?
I think he has done what he should do, and that's let Karl Malone know that he's not intimidated by him. Karl Malone makes the hard foul. Very hard foul, but Pau Gasol, he walks right up to him and says, I'm still here.
And Malone now upset with Hugh Hollins, and Lorenzen Wright stood by Pau's side, which is certainly something that you'd like to see. And Pau misses the technical. He'll shoot two, and Malone walks over toward Pau Gasol. And Phil Johnson looks at Karl Malone and says, just back off. The second, Pau's router can't get either.
Karl Malone is trying to get in Pau Gasol's head. Missed a couple, gotten good shots, good looks at the basket.
Malone throws it up and in. He has 31 points. And Malone turns toward Rodney Mott, and he wanted to call, and he doesn't get it. How about Karl Malone? 14-21. We talked about him at the top of the program, about what he's done since the All-Star snub, and now John Stockton gets called for the foul. And both teams don't like the way that this one's being called. And Karl Malone heads over to Mott. Stockton heads back over to Sean Corbin. The only one left to have a conversation with is Hugh Hollins.
Well, you can say Karl Malone, he definitely threw that one up. And I didn't see a foul. Lorenzen Wright played good defense, had his arm straight up in the air, made Karl Malone shoot the basketball over him. Karl Malone makes a difficult shot.
Watson makes the first free throw. The Memphis Grizzlies tonight, 14-22, they have game.
Stockton finds the mailman, who is bugged by Olden Colonies.
And they'll give him two. A little bit excessive, a little bit fragrant that time by Olden Colonies, so the Clippers will get the ball back out of bounds after the two free throws. Danny Manning running the fast break right here, keeping the pressure on the Jazz.
Second personal for Wallace.
I like the way Karl Malone is not allowing this physical play to get to his head. One thing about Malone is if you bump him, if you force him to struggle every time he catches the ball, you normally see him lose it a little bit. He's remained calm here, though, in this game.
He did take a little walk, though, before going up to the foul line, just to recollect his thoughts after the flagrant foul by Polynese.
Whatever it takes.
Manning sits down now as Charles Smith checks back into the lineup for the Clippers.
See, the thing about Polynese, he's not going to get a whole lot of minutes if things hold true to form since Larry Brown came to this team. So he must make his presence felt when he's in there. The way to do that is continue to be aggressive defensively, continue to bump Karl Malone.
Getting to approach his numbers from game one in this series. Jeff Malone finds his favorite shot. Wouldn't go from the rebound, banged off the head of Doc Rivers out of bounds. A foul is going to be called on Karl Malone. He is furious.
And I think he should pick up the technical. And that's the first time Karl Malone has reacted in this game. It's been physical. He has done a good job of keeping his cool, but he definitely gets out of control right there, and he goes all the way back in the tunnel here to prevent picking up another technical foul.
Well, it'll be Doc Rivers shooting the tee. See if he can end this string of 4 free throw shot attempts. He can. The Clippers continue to struggle from the line, and now 8 of 17 from the line. And that wasn't the first time, by the way, that Doc Rivers got hit in the head by a basketball tonight.
Watch Edwards and Malone get tangled up down there. Now, Malone is saying Edwards pulled him down. The replay right there shows that he might be right. Might have reason to react as he did. Edwards, though, makes the free throw.
Well, the teams were warming up tonight. A guy from one of the local TV stations wanted to help out John Stockton.
Foul roll, stop rolls, cross court in the left corner. He's got Starks for a three-pointer. It won't go. Up and over the backboard out of bounds, but Steve Nash pulls Karl Malone to the floor. He and Juwan Howard both right there. So the mailman who had the inside track.
This is going to be 5 fouls, I think, on Juwan Howard. I mean, he really hooks Karl Malone. Watch this. And throws Karl to the floor. Karl's trying to get the position, and there it is. He sends Karl Malone.
The byplay here between Malone and Rodman. A sign of respect, actually, it appeared.
And Cooper, here's Scott. And he's taken down by Malone.
Don't worry about it.
Byron, just go to the foul line. Don't say anything to Mr. Malone.
He's a tough kid. He grew up not far from the Forum. It wasn't an easy place to grow up.
Backup for John Stockton throughout the series as Karl Malone is fouled by Rambis and Chambers. And Malone and Rambis having words. One thing Cotton Fitzsimmons says he likes about Kurt Rambis is that he willingly gives his body up.
Well, part of that philosophy is make the Phoenix Suns spend energy moving their feet on defense rather than offense.
And Joe Crawford.
Watch the double screen. Darrell Walker fakes, fools John Stockton, comes on the baseline, catches a direct pass. The pump fake. Now watch as the ball is going right there, contact with Darrell Walker's arm and his leg. That's what upset Karl Malone.
He got the technical. There have been 3 called in this game. Scott Williams, Jay Humphries, Karl Malone have all been called for technicals. Jordan shoots the tee to the boo of the crowd. And it's a 10-point Jazz lead, 6:54 to go in the third quarter, and the ball will belong to the Chicago.
Fracture on his left hand, and he showed you and I before the game. He's a massive swelling there, so that makes it difficult to dribble.
Darrell Walker and Karl Malone, ill-advised Darrell. Darrell is a feisty defender.
Well, Karl Malone realizes he already has 1 technical. Now, he just said something to Darrell Walker right there. And he's saying, see, they're holding up. See, Darrell isn't going to back away from anybody, but also Karl Malone realizes that he already has 1 technical foul. Now, he waited, walked out to the top of the circle and said something to Walker, and Walker went right back at him.
This will be the 15th free throw.
And they'll be in there all night long.
Malone and Darrell Walker wrestling down on the baseline, and it's going to be on Darrell Walker.
Well, what you have to do, you must be very careful now. See, you're Karl Malone. This is 2 trips into your offensive end of the floor, and you've been tangled up twice in a row now with Darrell Walker. Now, you have to be careful so that you do not get suckered into either a punch or a technical foul. You're out of here, and we still have an entire quarter to play.
Now, this is boring to a lot of fans, but in terms of being effective, there's the boo on Walker as he checks out. Armstrong gets into the game.
Well, that's because they swung at one another as he passed Karl Malone. And you know the old story. Chicago can afford to lose, Darrell Walker, but Karl Malone cannot be lost to the Utah Jazz.
This will be the 13th free throw attempt, and as you saw on that graphic, Karl Malone has outscored the Bulls.
We have the sideshow here in Salt Lake City of Jazz owner Larry Miller, who will not be attending today's game after an altercation with Denver fans during Game 5, a game in which he also called for the benching of his star Karl Malone. The friction between Malone and Miller continues to make headlines here.
When things are going great, everybody's on the bandwagon, but when they go tough, everybody sort of jump off, and you hear all kind of stuff. And in this business, that's part of it. And that's the kind of stuff that run players away from the game. It's not the game itself. It's all the games that are played within that run players away. Because you just say to yourself, you know, I've given it all I could give for an organization or a team, and then I get this or whatever, so the hell with it, basically, you know.
Karl Malone told us yesterday that Miller's actions have pushed him towards a decision which he will announce after the season is through. And Karl Malone implied that he will indeed demand a trade from the Utah Jazz when the season's over.
Malone and Jahidi go down strong.
And they call it on Karl Malone.
Second on Karl Malone. Timeout, Utah. .253 to go, third quarter.
Vaya balón ahora de Hornacek. Hornacek da asistencia para Karl Malone. Hey, no ha entrado
ahora.
Y canasta. Ahora sí, canasta.
Está protestando, 30.001 puntos. Protesta y le ha caído técnica, creo.
Técnica, madre mía.
Vaya manera de celebrarlo.
No podía ser de otra manera. Un miembro distinguido del club de los Cicuta.
Llega a los 30.000 puntos y le pitan técnica.
Ahí estamos, Malone.
Ni se ha anunciado.
Ni se ha anunciado.
Por
Rebound, knocked down. Karl's got it. The mailman got slapped in the eye. We got a timeout, 20 seconds. Hopefully he's all right.
And David Robinson was the one that hit Karl Malone in the face. Karl Malone is on the floor, and I tell you, the way he's moving his legs, he just might be David Robinson right here. Boy, he just reaches like he wants to punch the basketball, and his finger went straight into Karl Malone's eye.
Sparky, the Jazz trainer, out working over him.
Servicio, lanzamiento de Jordan, ahí peleando la cruela de Milton y Rodman. Rodman encima, y al final
los dos al suelo. Falta doble.
Falta de Malone, yo creo.
Están hablando los árbitros. Volvió a hacer lo mismo Rodman.
Sí. Él lo obstaculiza ahí. El saque, yo creo que es falta de Malone, ¿no? No sé cómo has visto tú la jugada.
Bueno, vuelve a poner la cara adelante, entonces impide que se mueva el codo Malone. Yo creo que van a señalar falta doble.
Vamos a ver ahí.
Ahí se va cerca.
Está encima ahí, encima.
Sí. Y ahí le aparta Malone.
No veo ahí.
Paul Westphal about that same situation about the distance in games, and he said the thing they worry about is their timing. So what they do is, like about Thursday, they bring in some extra referees. They go they go on like a scrimmage, a game type scrimmage, just to try to keep everybody fresh.
Bob, I think we had an offensive foul here on Malone, a little elbow in the ribs, and then a technical foul. So Brent Berry will shoot the technical for Seattle.
The personal was the first on Karl.
Little jostling there with Foster. And Malone, watch his elbow here. Right there, he sort of shoots that right elbow out, and Ronnie Nunn catches him for it. Then he goes over, complains a little bit, and also gets a technical.
Geht fast jeder Angriff bei den Lakers. Da ist er wieder. Ja, ein schöner Block eigentlich von Karl Malone, aber mit Foulspiel dabei. Allerdings beschwert sich Kobe Bryant so lautstark, dass er direkt ein technisches Foul bekommt. Das sehen wir nochmal, die Aktion, ein Generationenduell, wenn man so will. Kobe Bryant, 22 Jahre, wird gefoult von Karl Malone, 37. Gleich mehr Basketball. Aktion, die zu dem technischen Foul geführt hat. Kobe Bryant beschwert sich, er wird auch gleich Freiwürfe bekommen, aber
get himself some room, then he starts passing the basketball, get another whistle against the Jazz, and there's Bukowski and Malone going nose to nose.
get a little bit physical. This is number 3 on Brakowski.
Well, this is intimidation. Michael Buffers was here. He should be calling this.
Körperlichen Vorteilen gegen Jeff Hornacek, aber diese Schlüsselposition, diese Position Nummer...
Now, I think he's being asked to leave the floor.
And meanwhile, Malone and Rasheed Wallace were nose to nose.
Now that's a
Barkley came up short and got fouled on the arm. This promises to be a battle royal on the blocks all day long.
Well, you take a look at 2 powerful men and one just a little bit bigger and stronger. They make it exchange right there, but Karl Malone.
Malone clobbered and hits the floor hard, and AC Green.
Well, what happened is the two collided near midcourt, and Malone pushed AC Green, and then AC Green, and I think that was a bad foul by AC Green. He just pushed him there. If anything, he should have grabbed him and made sure he didn't fall that hard. Now watch Kareem making a strong move to the baseline in this. Karl Malone getting a piece of the basketball, and they're off and running.
Earl Bailey has come into the ball game early for the Utah Jazz. Malone appears to be all right, and with that build, you would expect it. There's Bailey, though, who, along with Roy Tarpley, the best 6th men in the NBA this year. Malone, who's improved in many areas, including on the free throw line in his career. So Thurl Bailey, who gives Frank Layton a great scoring threat, comes in for Mark Ivaroni early here with 9:24 to go in the first.
Well, one thing we know for sure, this game is going to get very physical. After that contact between AC Green and Malone, I'm sure at some point is going to try and retaliate, maybe with AC Green underneath the basket. And it won't happen.
Malone ties it up.
Have a home court advantage to Chicago. Ostertag with 11 points, and words between Karl Malone and Brian Williams at the aftermath to the basket by Ostertag. And double technical fouls being handed out by Bill Oaks.
Well, Brian Russell went up to shoot that basketball. I think Luke Longley took his eye off it, the defender, and that left Ostertag wide open. Luke Longley, who has been playing well, falls asleep at low left of your screen. Oh, gee. Forearm shiver by Brian Williams, who evidently took exception to something. Karl Malone walking away as Brian Williams.
Luke Longley was caught out of position down on the block. You can see here as both ball clubs leave the floor in the first half.
Play first half. Stockton for Karl Malone. Down the lane, rejected by Rick Mahorn. He not only rejected the shot, he rejected Karl Malone. And the Jazz are going to inbound.
Yeah, I don't know whether Rick Mahorn can sing. I don't think he can, but he, once again, there's a guy down there that loves the name of that tune. Block one out.
The lane shovels to Karl Malone, and he is pounded by Rick Mahorn. And that's going to be an intentional flagrant foul.
Can't make that call.
Well, he just did.
He can't make that call. That's a bad call. Rick Mahorn was going for the ball. Take a look at it. This is a bad call, ladies and gentlemen. See Stockton coming down. He'll dish off to Karl Malone. Rick comes in. He's going up right now. He's right there on the elbow. That's a bad call.
But I think the call was, he was saying that you shoved it, you threw him out of the way.
Doesn't matter. He's leaning in that direction to start with.
Malone makes the free throw. Take a look at it again. He made the call right away. Now Steve Javie warning the Sixer coaches to sit down.
Take another look, different angle after this shot right here. Here's a look, Stockton coming down, makes a nice spin move.
Bad call.